Right. Oh. Let's try that again. Okay, there we are. Hopefully I sound okay. I'll just give it a second for more people to come in, and then I'll get started. Right. Oh. Let's try that again. Oh, actually, before I do that... Okay, everything seems to be running fine. Right. So today I'm here to talk about the Evesham Abbey archaeological dig. And what we did this week was we basically dug for what remains of the Evesham Abbey, which was disillusioned by obviously Henry VIII and Thomas Cromwell in about 1540 I should say, sorry. But what was Evesham Abbey? Now the picture I have in front of you here is the bow tower, which is pretty much what remains of the abbey, and the bow tower was completed by one of the last abbots, Abbot Lichfield. It's also known as the Abbot Lichfield Tower, bow tower. What's interesting about it is it was pretty much constructed and finished constructed just before the abbey was disillusioned. So this lovely building was just constructed and they didn't really want to tear it down. So we have the founding of the abbey. Now the abbey, its site is a bit contested, I suppose. So when I was researching the abbey itself, I was looking at whether or not it was a Briton church that was originally there or a Saxon one. Unfortunately, I found conflicting sources about the abbey's foundation, but regardless, it was founded around the 8th century, and the story goes is that a swineherd basically was in the foresty area of what is now Evesham, and he was there to gather the pig swine of the bishops of Worcester, and he encountered a vision of the Virgin Mary accompanied by two angels, and he rushed back towards his master, the bishop, who came to explore the area to see if the vision was true, and he saw the same vision, and he basically decided that this was a sign that an abbey must be built for the glory of the Virgin Mary. Now, William of Malmesbury, a chronicler from the 11th to 12th century, offers that this church was already there, and with how rich the area was for farming, that is the reason why the abbey was constructed. But regardless of how it was founded, the abbey by 960, it was either a wooden abbey or it was just this wooden church. The roof had collapsed and a new abbey was constructed. But I couldn't find any information on why the abbey church had collapsed, whether the roof collapsed due to fire, due to poor maintenance. Regardless, it collapsed. Now this is the abbey in its heyday, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain the background of the abbey before I get into the dig and what we were looking for. So obviously this is the abbey in its heyday. As you can see, there's a farming community not far around it. And it was allegedly the third largest abbey in England at the time. And there was two churches there, St. Lawrence's. I think two of the churches, one of them was for visitors and one was for the local people. Whereas the abbey, you couldn't really enter it unless you were a monk or a member of the clergy or a noble person. So this is just one artist's impression of what we think the abbey looked like in its heyday. And now this, looking at this image with the bow tower in it, this would have been just before it was dismantled by Henry VIII and his goons. And then we have another artist impression. This one's got more titles on it, so it explains what everything was. So you've got in the bottom right hand corner here the almory where the abbot would have stayed, one of the abbey gates, the nave, and the main part of it, the abbey church, which towered over the bow tower. And the bow tower itself is no small building, so the abbey church in its heyday must have looked absolutely spectacular. So this massive complex would have brought in a lot of pilgrims, a lot of travellers to visit and pray, of course. And then we have the remains today. So we've got two images here. One is a drone shot. Well, they're both drone shots. One is taken before the dig, and as you can see on the left hand side, this one is the site where basically it was taken before any work was done on it. So as you can see, it's fairly overgrown. Basically what had happened after the abbey was disillusioned is the land became used for various parts of farming and other bits as well. Like some of it was owned by just local people who would just have their own allotments on here. And this is the drone images from Avon archaeologists who did a dig last summer. What they did on the site, as you can see on the right hand photo here, is they dug 3 trenches to explore, but nothing was found. So this allowed the Abbey Trust to build or start the wall restorations. Yeah. So let's see, what else have we got? If I go to the next slide. Yeah, so again, a bit more of an in-depth picture, but what's interesting is just how overgrown it was. And obviously living around Evesham myself, walking past it, I would have never have noticed it because it was so overgrown. But here in this next picture we have the layout of the church and what it was what it looked like and everything. So you've got the crypts beneath the choir, the abbey church, the nave, the first apartment, second apartment, the crypt, the chapter house, all lovely stuff that you'd find in a typical medieval church. But again, I believe this layout was from in its heyday, because obviously during the years of the establishment of the abbey it went through numerous changes. Obviously the first wooden one collapsed and then it was rebuilt and then it was just altered over the years. And then in our next slide we have the Abbey Gate at Evesham. This is from a 16th century manuscript of an artist's drawing of it. So as you can see, it's, you can still see the lovely carved, what we believe are the abbots. But then if you look at the gate today, or the nave, the gate today, you can see it's eroded quite a bit, either through neglect, acid rain, whatever, basically. But you can still make out the carvings of the abbots. Again, we think it's the abbots, but again, they're all headless for some reason. But that may have been done during the dissolution of it to, I don't know, vandalize it. Because looking at the explanation of it, when the abbey was being disillusioned, the local townspeople also joined in as well. It was kind of a free-for-all, so much so that the guy who purchased the majority of it had to put guards out to stop people from basically stealing the supplies, because it was incredibly fine stone work. I'm surprised the Abbey Gate still survived, or as it is now. Obviously it's had restoration work done on it. And then we have the Lichfield Tower, or just simply known as the Bow Tower. Again, this is another drawing from I believe the 17th century. And then we have what it was. I think I took this picture back in 2021 on a lovely summer's day. So you can see it's still an impressive height. Now, we've got on this bit is basically a breakdown of the abbey and the bits that were added to it over the years. So the first time it was a wooden structure, which again was slowly replaced by a stone building. And then the first Norman abbot of Evesham rebuilt the abbey in the Norman style, which obviously we see across the whole of England. When the Normans took control of England, they built many buildings and establishments to solidify their rule, and also to apologise for butchering so many fellow Christians. Of course, if you've got any questions, I will try and answer them at the end about the abbey and the work we've done. So a lot of work was done during the 14th century and the 15th century, but then the last abbot, Abbot Clements Lichfield, built the new bell tower, added the parish churches and everything else, but unfortunately, not long after the abbey was built, again it was disillusioned by Henry VIII. What was interesting about the abbey is after the Norman conquest, unlike a lot of places, the abbot, who was an Anglo-Saxon, managed to keep his job because he approached William first and said, hey, I'm in charge, I'm here to assist you and help you any way. William appreciated this and allowed him to keep his job, as well as gave him some more administrations, because I was looking through the abbey rolls, and what was interesting was it basically told me about how after the death of King Harold and William receiving the kingdom, he basically approached him and said, hey, I'm the bishop here. Instead of fleeing from persecution and ferocity like some of the barons in England did, this abbot approached him and said, I'm in charge and I would still like to keep my job. And the king agreed his request and then gave him some other titles as well. Just looking over my the source material in it. But also what happened, in fact, let me go back to that last one. The history that happened around the abbey. So we had the Norman conquest. Also, the Battle of Evesham was a major historical event for the history of England. Basically, the Second Barons' War was between King Henry III and Simon de Montfort, his former best friend. And basically, they had a falling out, and they had a battle at Lewes, in which Simon de Montfort captured the king and his son and heir, Edward. Edward managed to escape at some point and raise an army, and tricked Simon into arriving at Evesham. Realising he was trapped, Simon de Montfort gave battle, tried to push through Edward's army to escape, but unfortunately was surrounded and slaughtered. And that was pretty much the Battle of Evesham. But what was interesting about how rich the town became was during the reign of Edward III. So Edward III basically, what did he do? Oh yes, he gave the town, in fact I did write this down, let me just find it quickly. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so in 1327, Edward III granted letters patented to the bailiffs and the good men of Evesham, who were given authority to levy tolls on goods entering the town. So what that basically meant was any goods or any fine goods coming in, they could basically tax them, get money for them, which again filled the coffers of the abbey, which again led to the development of new buildings being constructed because they had all this free cash now. So the abbots could spend more money on the abbey, and each succeeding abbot improved and added new buildings. And then obviously the last major building was, of course, the Bow Tower. And then, of course, again, unfortunately, was demolished afterwards. So this is just a picture I took a while ago. This is the memorial to Simon de Montfort. I don't think he's buried there, considering after the battle he was kind of chopped to pieces, because essentially Prince Edward said no quarter was to be given to anyone on de Montfort's side. And what was interesting about it was, though, I think there was it a 12 or was it a 17 hitman squad to hunt down Simon and kill him. Regardless, Simon died at Evesham, and his body had horrible things done to it. Now that I've explained the history of the abbey, I'm going to explain the goals of the dig. So there was 2 trenches we explored in our dig. The first one was the 1952 trench. So in 1952, a trench was dug, and that's all we know. they left very poor historical records of everything that went on, so we don't actually have really much information. All we know is that they dug the trench. We don't know how far they got. They didn't really record anything. They didn't catalogue anything or anything we could find. And then the second one was, there is a little bit of the abbey wall that is exposed. So again, that was another dig site. So that's 2 dig sites we had to explore. So this is the 1952 trench. So as you can see from the picture, there's a lot of rubble, a lot of rubbish in it as well, and plant life as well. So our goal was to essentially just dig all of this out with shovels and pickaxes, which I did, and was incredibly hard work. I'm still rather tired from it because unfortunately I was only there for about 3 days because I had to go back to work, and my job is quite physical as it is. So I've been working for about 6 days straight, and my legs and my back are a wee bit sore, but I'll get over it. But what is interesting about this photo here is the wall on the left is a repurposed wall that was basically built after the Abbey's dissolution. But then this bit that is sticking out here next to the railing is actually the original part of what's left of the Abbey wall. And then there's just rubble in it as well that they used to fill the 1952 trench. And what we think they did was that they basically dug it all out. Whatever they found they had on display, and they basically just reburied it after a time, which isn't really great because it didn't leave us with any information to do. So our goals essentially were, I've written this down because I wasn't 100% sure. Yeah, so the goal was to redig the 1952 trench, see what they dug, and then see how far we could dig down, obviously, because it was us, 3 archaeologists, and then a group of volunteers as well. So that was the first trench, and then that's the first day. But what I'll do now is I basically chronicled each day as it went on. So on the first day, this is the exposed Abbey wall. So obviously we've covered it over for protection. The big wall at the back is just a repurposed wall because you can clearly see the wall being used with various different materials. You've got brickwork there, and then sandstone here, and all that lot. But this bit is the original Abbey wall, and this is one of the other trenches we were digging out. Another close-up shot of it, and then that's one of the churches in the background. And then that's the bell tower again, and then this is the first trench. This is a 1952 trench which we were on. So we were here, about to dig out, and the first day was just removing a lot of rubble and a lot of rubbish, basically. Like we found bottles and some other nefarious things that I won't mention. Including a jumper as well, weirdly. But this is the start of the 1952 trench. So as you can see, we're starting to clear away stuff already. And then this is the main bit of the trench. So we had to remove basically all of that, and dig down. And then you've got a little bit of the wall here with a lovely bit of carved stone work there, which again we wanted to dig out and explore. Yeah, so again, more pictures of us just getting rid of all the rubble. And then as we were digging down, we found this lovely piece of carved stonework here. So you can really see lovely little bits there. So that was a really nice find straight away. And we think this is what they had on display originally in the 1952 trench. But as you can see around it, there's just a lot of plastic. Because the interesting thing about it was, because this was my first time an archaeological dig. So I've never done an archaeological dig before, and I'm really glad I did it because it was a lot of fun. The way they basically said you could date it was, you dig down and you'll find a lot of plastic, and we did. We were finding crisp packets probably from the 1980s, 1990s, and that's how you date each of the soil as you go down. So we found like vodka bottles, which were modern because I recognise the label, and then crisp packets, like we found some Spider-Man crisp packets from, again, the 1980s. So we knew how far we were getting down looking at the trench. And then I'll just go to the next bit. So again, just another shot of that lovely bit of carved stonework. So again, this is one of the things we think they had on display during the original 1952 trench. before they reburied it. So as you can see, you know, getting through the day, we're finding some lovely bits of the wall down here at the bottom, and then we're finally exposing this bit of the wall. Obviously, we had to be careful because we didn't want to undermine this main bit of the wall because we didn't know how far it went down. But then there's that lovely bit of carved stonework we found, so we were trying to excavate that while removing all of this soil. And then that's it, basically the end of the first day. It was incredibly hot, actually, surprisingly, in England. In fact, it was so hot that I've actually burnt my ears. The top of my ears are actually flaking still. I actually had sunburn on my ears. So that's how hot it was on the first day. So this is the 1952 trench in all of its detail. For some reason, there's a bloody tree stump there, which was incredibly irritating because its roots had digged so far down. It was incredibly annoying to dig around. And then we have the next pit. So as you can see here, we've got more of the Abbey wall. This is the pit my friend Josh was digging. He's been on a lot more archaeological digs, and he's the reason I found out about this dig, actually, so I was very keen to join up. He did a fantastic job of digging out this trench, so all praises to him. And then this is just something they found on the first day. I believe, I can't remember if they said that brickwork was Victorian or not. I think they did say it was Victorian, but that was just digging down to see if we could find any floor work. And then that's more of the exposed wall. As you can see, the original Abbey wall there. And then as we were digging down, we found more of the wall. I'd say some lovely stonework there. And then this is just the pit again after we dug more of it out. We did saw off bits of it, but we really needed a proper chainsaw, which we did get. And then that's it again as we were digging through it. Some bits and bobs found. And then that was the trench at the end of the day. And what's really cool is obviously in the 1952 trench, we found obviously the bits they had probably exposed to be on display. So we've got this lovely little pillar bit. There's a better picture of it later, but you can see like the details here. We think that's part of the pillar. And it's obviously been spun around because I remember the archaeologists saying it should have been the other way around. And then we've got a lovely little bit of stonework there, and then the other bit of carved stonework there. I think that was it for the first day. Oh yes, this is again the second pit, so more of the Abbey wall exposed. And then you can see it in great length here. Yeah, oh that's it, that's a better picture. So yeah, you can see the indentations of the stonework here. And then at the back here, we've dug far down that we can see like the base bit of the wall here, which is really nice. And then that's the pit again. We got really far down on the first day. And then we've got the second part of the wall here, and then just little bits and bobs we found, like there's some bone in there and some other bits and bobs. And then that's it, what it looked like on the first day. So again, we got really far down, finding some really cool stuff here. And that was the first day. So I'll go back to the second day. This is just a picture of the bow tower I took because it was it was a really sunny day. Probably the reason why I burnt my ears. I just thought that was a really good picture. And then this is Josh's pit again. As you can see, he's getting down quite further now. Seeing some lovely stonework. Again, more of the Abbey wall from that pit. And then this is a second bit they dug. Third trench even. And again, you can see the Abbey wall looking amazing, really. Just amazing to find this stuff so far down below. And then this is the second day of the 1952 trench. So again, we've carved out more of this. And we've finally sort of taken out a bit more of that tree stump. A very annoying tree stump. And we've exposed more of that lovely carved bit of stonework there. There we go. So yeah, you can see it more clearly, like the indentations and the shape of the stonework. So the second day was just really just more troweling than digging, really, apart from that top bit there. And that's just the amount of rubble and soil we had out. Yep, not too much on the second day. And then the third day, that's Josh's pit again. And then they expanded this bit, and I believe they said this pit was medieval. But again, more stuff found. In fact, if it would probably be quicker actually, rather than waiting it to load. If I just... There we go. It'll be quicker this way. There we go. That's the amount of rubble that we dug out again. But like I said, the wall was made of a lot of different stonework. And then that's Nat giving some of the tours. And then this is the bit I dug out. I went a bit mad here with the pickaxe. It was quite fun, but I was exhausted at the end of it. But the annoying thing was, obviously this is the Abbey wall, which, you know, more of it we exposed. And it's, you know, lovely carved bits of stone, like here and here. But what was frustrating was the fact that there was this concrete dumped here, and we couldn't break it. I went at it with a pickaxe, I could only chip bits off, so it was just not worth really going at it. So we just had to dig underneath it, and obviously make sure it didn't collapse forwards. But there we got more of the lovely stone exposed. And then, as you can see, more of the wall here, where it's carved. So we finally dug that out and cleaned it out. And then this is just a picture, a close-up of that lovely carved stonework fully exposed. It's in situ, which means it was definitely placed there. Like, it's not completely buried in, so we could, if we had the equipment at the time, lift it out if we were given approval. And then that's that carved bit of, I think they said that was part of the base pillar. But as you can see, we're actually getting to the ground floor now. I don't know if this is how far they got on the 1952 trench. Again, more rubble. And then that's another shot of the carved stone. So as you can see, it is definitely in situ. So we could have definitely lifted it out. And that was the third day. And then we have the fourth day, which unfortunately I wasn't there for, which was very frustrating. I had to go back to work, sadly. But as you can see, we finally hit the flooring. And what was interesting was, I believe Josh said that we found a load of some of the floor tiles and a bit of plaster from the Abbey and its construction. So that was it, fully decked out. So you can completely see this lovely bit of stonework here, which I believe they said was the pillar art. But what I'll do is I'll link the Avon archaeology company that helped, that it organised and did this dig. They'll probably have a better write-up than I would have done, explaining what they found. So I'll link that when that's released in the description of the video. And then this is the bits that they found. So there's some clay, there's some pottery in here, there's some more of the stonework here. And then what's really cool and what really grabbed me about this part is the fact that they found some medieval pottery with a fish head on it, which is really cool. So all of this is pottery, so it's all, you know, been bagged up and whatnot. And then some more bits and bobs, some more bits of the pottery there. So again, some really, really cool finds. Just really, really nice stuff. Some more pottery there, and I think that's a bit of brickwork as well. And then this was the orange bits are more pottery that we found. So again, whether or not the 1952 trench found anything decent and they've just left it there in situ, or they just thought, nah, this is all crap, we'll just throw it back in. We don't know, but we found it anyway. So, and it's been bagged up and logged now. So that was the 4th day, and then finally the 5th day was a nice day again. It was just basically just the tidying up and cataloguing it all. So that's more of the Abbey wall exposed more. So again, really nice bits of work there. That's the trench in its full glory as far as we dug down. And that's Josh's pit. As you can see, he got quite far down. And then you've got lovely bits of the Abbey wall there. And then more of the Abbey wall that went further down after this bit, after the brickwork here. And then this is the plaster they found. So this was underneath it. So this would have been, I think, if I remember correctly, it was found during the construction of it. So it predates the Abbey, which is nice. Yeah, that's the plaster there. And then just a more close-up shot of the pillar bit here. Again, really nice stone carving. A bit more of the wall there, the exposed wall. And then that was the further bit back, when again more plaster was found there, and the base of it as well. But yeah, and that was pretty much it for the dig. Yeah, it was a really good dig. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really happy we found some stuff. So hopefully, going forward, we can see what will happen. I think, if I remember correctly, they said it was going to hopefully be turned into an extended part of the Abbey Park, so people can go in and explore it and all that lot as well. So yeah, that was it. That was all of the dig, basically. I haven't really got much more to add to it, really. So I'll probably just end it here, really. I've explained the dig and everything we found. If I get any more information about the dig, I'll include it in any of the links along with the sources I've used. But yeah,